Okay, so it's 3 o'clock, and I only see one of you tuned in here, but I'm just going to go through the lesson, and then I'm going to send everybody else out the recording of it. So there's two things we were going to work on today, and before I get into those, I am actually in jury duty right now as we speak. So I didn't realize that they kept us this long. The original paperwork said till 1 o'clock, but apparently we stay until they say we can go. So if I get called to do a case, if they call my name, I'll have to go. It has a nice little French connection, the voir dire, it's called, and it means to see and to say. So if I get called to voir dire, I'll have to just end this video. Otherwise, I will send this out to you guys, and you have on the super site a bunch of exercises that are tied to these two grammar lessons. So the first one is demonstrative adjectives. They are the equivalent of these, those, that, sorry, these, this, these, that, those. And so you use them before noun. And of course, they, like all adjectives, so these are called demonstrative adjectives. They depend on the gender and the number of the noun that goes with it. So, for example, when you have a noun like cafe, it's masculine and singular. When you have a noun like surprise, surprise right there, cette surprise, it is feminine and singular. When you have a vowel sound behind the s, so in this case it would be ce café, but here we have the vowel a, éclair, cet éclair. So you put a T, even though it's masculine. And then with the feminine noun with a vowel, it is the same. It is cet. It is invariable if it is plural. So ces cafés, ces éclairs, ces surprises, ces amis. So in this first example, ce copain organise une fête. Copain, no vowel, it's masculine, so we use ce. Cette glace est excellente. So glace is feminine, we use cette. Cet hôpital est trop loin du centre-ville. So in this instance, we hear the O sound, it's a vowel. Cet hôpital est trop loin du centre-ville, so we use cet, even though hôpital is masculine. Sounds exactly like cette glace, cet hôpital. And in this case, it's plural. Je préfère ces cadeaux. So the chapter is on the fête. And so when you have a fête, an anniversaire, you have cadeau. So when it's plural, it does not change. So in this instance, we have things like combien coûte cette montre? And so when we see that it's feminine, the montre is a watch, voici ma montre. And it's the cette is telling you that montre is feminine. If you don't know, you're trying to figure out whether to use ce, cette, ou c'est, so by process of elimination, it's not plural, so you know it's not say, so it's going to be either ce or cette, because it begins with a consonant. And if you don't know what montre, if it's feminine or plural, you have to look it up. And over here we have j'ai ce cadeau pour Stéphane. So that one begins with a consonant, hence ce. J'ai ce cadeau pour Stéphane. Okay, so we also have to take into consideration that it's this, these, and so the forms of ce can refer to a noun that is near this, these. So in English we say this hand, or this hand, these hands, they're close by, but we make a distinction when it's far away. That hand, that watch, those people. So in French, we don't have that, this, these, that, those distinction. It's all the same with the ceux and that's le dessert, monsieur. It could be that one over there, it could be this one close by. Ils vont aimer cette surprise. Could be that one, could be this one. Joël préfère cet éclair. Could be that one over there, could be this one right here. Ces glaçons sont pour la limonade. But there is a way that we're going to look at to make this clear if it's over there or over here. And that is when you use the di ou la. So you might already know that ici is here, là-bas, et là-bas is over there. So ce couple-ci, this couple here, cet invité là, that guest there, ces biscuits-ci, right here, ces bières là, over there. So you put a little trait d'union, ci and là. Okay, so you can also contrast things with the la and the ci. On prend cette glace-ci par cette glace-là. This one here, not that one there. Je préfère ou j'aime ce cadeau-ci, mais je préfère ce cadeau-là. J'aime bien ces chaussures-ci, ici. So these ones here. Tu achètes ce fromage-ci ou ce fromage-là? That one or this one? Nous achetons ces bonbons et Isabelle achète ce gâteau-là. That one over there, that cake there. Je préfère ces chaussures-là. So to practice this, I actually made a Kahoot, but since there's not enough of you guys to do the Kahoot, I just kind of want to see what happens if I pull it up. So let's unshare. Just want to see what happens. Because what we can do is I can do it, just stop share, we can do it and then do it again in class. So like you will already learned the answers. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to give you like a little preview of this. If I'm able to do it without you guys actually. Get it makes like gone with the button. If I can start now, here we go. All right. So I'm just gonna see if we can do just a couple and then you can watch it on your video, then we'll do it in class. So the demonstrative adjectives, like other adjectives, agree in gender and number. So we just did that, right? We just said like demonstrative adjectives. So we're gonna go true. Oh, wait, it's not me who does it. There. Okay. Next. Next. The demonstrative adjectives have to agree in gender and number, so pick the correct answer. So you have a bunch of flowers, les fleurs, Est-ce que c'est cette fleur, ce fleur, ces fleurs, cette fleur? Alors, c'est pluriel, donc des fleurs. Okay, so we're going to do that in class. I just want to see if it actually worked and how that was going to work. We're going to do that in class. So I want to actually exit out of this. And we're going to go to the next lesson. So on Friday, you will have already done on the super site these demonstrative adjectives. You will have watched this video. And so we can just mess around with the Kahoot. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the passé composé, which is the hardest part of French. I'm not kidding you. The passé composé is basically, there's so many variables. Native French speakers will mess up things in the passé composé. If you go on to 201, the rest of 201 will be trying to figure out the difference with passé composé and another tense called the imparfait. So up to now, we've only done the present, the near future being je vais aller à la fête, so tu vas me voir vendredi. So we've learned a little bit of future by sticking up va, il va, so going to do something. But now we're going to enter the passé composé. Okay, so use the passé composé. You first have to grasp this concept of it is things that are done in the past and completed in the past. There's no equivalent in English. Okay, so you might want to think that it is when you see how we have an auxiliary verb, avoir, then we have a past participle. In this case, nous avons, avoir, auxiliary is avoir, fêter. You might want to say, well, we have celebrated, it's right there. But it's actually not we have celebrated. It's more we celebrated. So in English, that we have celebrated, we have seen, I have eaten, that is called the perfect tense. So the passé composé is like a combination of the simple past and the perfect. It does not exist in English. It's composed of two parts, so you need to commit this to memory, this notion of an auxiliary verb. The two auxiliary verbs that we're going to use in French are avoir and être. In English, it's have. I have done it, I have eaten it, I have seen it. So that the have is our little auxiliary. And you have to get the concept of a past participle. So just like those examples that I gave you, in English, I have been. It's the been that is the past participle. I have gone. I have done. So what the past passé composé isn't, it's not the same as something that is ongoing. So we could say in English, I have eaten fish. I have eaten it in my life. I continue to eat it. So in the perfect tense means I've done it, I've experienced it, not necessarily over. I've eaten fish, I'm going to eat some more. The difference is in French, it's over and done. So you stick in that auxiliary verb and you put on your past participle. Nous avons fêté. So fêté is the past participle. Avoir, nous avons fêté. Avoir is your auxiliary. So this is giving you, we celebrated, we have celebrated. I want you to think of it as we celebrated. It's over. It's done. We celebrated. Nous avons fêté la Pâques la semaine dernière. We just celebrated last semaine. So one of the things that's easier in passé composé is actually the formation of regular ER verbs and creating the past participle with a regular ER verb. chop off the ER. This is called the radical, the FET, the radical. Take off the ER, put on an E accent aigu. Donc, nous avons fêté la Pâque. Nous avons fêté Noël. Here's another regular ER verb. Oublier. J'oublie, j'ai oublié. I forgot. J'ai oublié mes clés. I forgot my key. J'ai oublié mon téléphone. J'ai oublié mon cours de français. I forgot my French. Vous avez cherché, look for. J'ai cherché mon chien. J'ai cherché un cadeau pour donner à un ami. Chercher. So you take off the ER. What's left behind the ER is called the radical. Cherche, oublie, bête. And you slap on an accent aigu. That is consistent with regular ER verbs. Unfortunately, regular ER verbs are not the only kind of verbs. So it's going to give you this example of parler, which is totally a regular ER verb. J'ai parlé, tu as parlé, on a parlé, nous avons parlé, vous avez parlé, ils ont parlé. So you have that auxiliary avoir, and you have the past participle parler. Gives you the example of j'ai oublié mes devoirs. Every student, j'ai oublié mes devoirs. So on Friday, we're in person. I don't want to hear that vous avez oublié vos devoirs. Hopefully you will have not forgotten your homework. Okay. So the passé composé has three English equivalents. We ate, we did eat, we have eaten. And if you think that French is tricky, try to explain we did eat versus we have eaten versus we ate to a non-English speaker, because they all mean the same thing. I would say that this is complicating the matter, and you just want to look at it as we ate. We're over and done it. Nous avons mangé. Fini, stop. All right, to make it a negation, you have to use the ne and the pas around the auxiliary verb. So I call it like a little auxiliary verb sandwich. It's a double negative. So if you wonder why in English there are people who speak with double negatives, we didn't get no cheese, double negative. English teachers say it's wrong. It's right in French. So you have to put both in, the ne and the pas. On n'a pas fêté mon anniversaire. Ils n'ont pas acheté de biscuits hier. So your auxiliary is the a. On n'a pas fêté mon anniversaire. It's the verb avoir. Ne pas goes around avoir. Ils n'ont pas acheté de biscuits hier. So there you have the on and the auxiliary verb avoir. Ne pas goes around it. And then you have questions. So this is what I call the promenade data dump. It's giving us a lot of information. So you can obviously ask questions about the past. Okay, so there's three different ways that this is going to show you. Avez-vous fêté votre anniversaire? So that's called inversion. Vous avez, Luc a-t-il aimé son cadeau? That's inversion when you have two vowels next to each other. A, il. You have to stick a T in there. Give the simpler way. Est-ce qu'ils ont acheté des biscuits? Est-ce que tu as essayé ce vin? So let's look at these in present tense just to understand it's not super complicated. You're just making it a past tense. So if you asked in the present tense, vous avez, fêtez-vous votre anniversaire? Fêtez-vous votre anniversaire? Are you celebrating your birthday? In the past tense, avez-vous fêté votre anniversaire? Luc a-t-il aimé son cadeau? Luc aime-t-il son cadeau? So theoretically, you've already learned that, how to ask a question with inversion and sticking the T in, and the est-ce que. Est-ce qu'elles achètent des biscuits? So are they buying this cookies? Do they buy cookies? Past tense. Est-ce qu'ils ont acheté des biscuits? Est-ce que tu as essayé ce vin? Past tense, present tense. Est-ce que tu as fait ce vin? You try this vin. So in these instances, you have regular ER verbs. You're making the past participle by taking that radical FET and sticking on an E accent aigu. Passé composé. Fêter, acheter, aimer, essayer. Okay. When you use the passé composé, you're talking about the past. So that's where the word hier ou avant-hier, not gonna, the book isn't giving you last week or last month. Let's just talk about today, yesterday, and the day before yesterday. So hier, yesterday, avant-hier, the day before yesterday, talking about the past. So you're using to discuss actions that are over and done with, passé composé. Hier, Marie a retrouvé ses amis au stade. So here you have the word retrouver. It is the accent aigu. That is called the past participle. You have your auxiliary verb, a, the auxiliary of avoir. Here you have ses parents ont téléphoné avant-hier. You have your auxiliary, you have your past participle, ses parents ont. So this is like if there were some draw. When you see that ses parents, thinking ils. Ils ont téléphoné hier. Ils ont téléphoné hier. Okay. That. When you have adverbs, and we saw this with avez-vous déjà vu, neuf neuf, à l'école des charcutiers. So déjà, have you already? Encore, do you still, or have you still? Bien, well, mal, poorly, beaucoup. So it's the one word that seems to have really stuck in Louisiana. Everyone knows beaucoup. So that goes before past participle. T'as déjà mangé ta part de gâteau? You already ate your cake. On n'a pas encore visité notre ville. He hasn't visited town yet. There's a beaucoup. Les filles ont beaucoup travaillé. J'ai l'impression que je beaucoup parle en ce moment. Les filles ont beaucoup travaillé. So all of these adverbs, they go in between the auxiliary and past participle. On n'a pas encore visité notre ville. Je n'ai pas bien joué hier. So when you have an adverb, it goes in between the auxiliary and the past participle. Participe passé. When you have a negation, it's going to go after the auxiliary and before past participle. It doesn't get in. You should think of that auxiliary sandwich with the ne pas around the auxiliary verb. And of course, there's going to be, I'm just going to skip this over here, where there's going to be verbs that don't end in ER. As you know, there's three groups. There's the ERs, the IRs, the REs. So there's different past participles depending on what kind of verb you have. So this is the verb dormir. Vous avez sentir, vous avez sortir, vous avez finir, vous avez, quel est notre verbe qui se termine en IR? Finir, dormir, so partir. Okay, so we're going to talk in this lesson about sentir et dormir. They end in just an I, just a cute little I. Sylvie a dormi jusqu'à 10 heures. Avez-vous senti ce bouquet? So do the same thing. Cut off that ending. Boop, boop. That's called your radical, the EORM. and you stick in an I. And then you have dormir, a dormi. Donc, Sylvia a dormi à 10 heures. Avez-vous senti ce bouquet? Let's do one to finir. J'ai fini ma leçon. Par exemple. Fini ma leçon. I finished. Right? Now, there's a ton of verbs in French that are irregular. So an example of an irregular past participle in English, let me think. People get past participles wrong in English all the time. So for example, I bring the coffee, I brought the coffee. And so this is a common English mistake. It might sound funny to you, but people say, I have brung the coffee. Well, it's not I have brung. It might sound normal to you. Conversely, it's I have brought the coffee. So that would be, so I think that's considered irregular in English. Let me think of some other English irregularities or things that people often get wrong. Well, read is tricky, like I read, I read, right? In present tense. I read, simple past. I have read. So you have three different tenses, two of which are pronounced the same. One is pronounced differently, and typically that third one, I have read, typically it is a modified past participle, but in this case in English, it's all the same. So these are considered irregular in French. And the bad news is you just have to memorize them. So lots of REs end differently. So I'm going to point out this one and this one. So this is a verb that ends in RE. Apprendre. This is a verb that ends in RE. Boire. This is a verb that ends in RE. Comprendre. And this is a verb that ends in IR. So be the IRs. We're going to work on the REs for them. Okay, so RE, 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 apprendre, comprendre, and boire. So the first two, because they're basically prendre, j'ai appris, j'ai compris. So they're the same. They sound like the j'ai fini, j'ai senti that we just saw, but it's IS ending, not just I ending. And then you have boire, that's like completely out there on its own with and bu. So what did you do with the beer? J'ai bu la bière. It was a lot of beer. J'ai beaucoup bu. Beaucoup bu. So the bu is an irregular ending. Now let's look at this pleuvoir, the irregular ending for pleuvoir. It's plu. It rhymes with bu, but it's a totally different ending. So you have pleuvoir and boire, and here it's an RE verb, and here it's an IR verb, but the past participles are the same. So these you just have to kind of learn by trying to remember them. So let's look at each one. Apprendre, to learn. Avoir, so avoir is both an auxiliary and this is its past participle. It is j'ai eu, I had. So if I said, j'ai eu un rendez-vous à 3 heures, I had a rendezvous at 3. J'ai eu, it's finished, it's over. J'ai bu un vin blanc. I drank it. Gone. J'ai compris la leçon. I understood the lesson. Être, to be, is conjugated with the auxiliary avoir. J'ai été. So interesting little phenomenon in Louisiana that the verb to go, aller, is often in the past tense forgotten. And people will just say, j'ai été chez Marlène, par exemple. I was at Marlene's. I went to her house. So this doesn't literally say I went to her house. It says I was at. I have been chez Marlène. So j'ai été, tu as été. Faire, as you know, faire is used constantly. Faire la cuisine, faire la fête, faire du vélo, faire, faire, faire. So in the past tense, it's j'ai fait. J'ai fait beaucoup de choses cet après-midi. I did it, it's over, it's done. Devoir, to rain. Il a plu. So it's over, the rain happened. It's no longer. To take, so it's conjugated similarly to apprendre and comprendre, and it's, so here you have apprendre, appris, comprendre, compris, and prendre, to take, pris. So j'ai pris mes médicaments, took my medicine. And you have surprendre, surpris. So the examples that the book gives you are nous avons bu. So that is your past participle of boire. A-t-il plu samedi? Did it rain? Ils ont été très en retard. So that is their avoir. So let's just line those up. So you have a bu. It's the boire. You have a plu. You, and it is pleuvoir. You have an été, and it is été is être, and you have a fait. It is faire. Être. Okay. So these, to recap, the avoir is your auxiliary. The bu, plu, été, fait are your past participles. These are all irregulars. Just for okay. Well, so we just learned the expression il faut. You had to do something. So il faut is I have to. Il a fallu is I had to. And il y a eu de fête hier soir, there were. Il y a eu de fête hier soir, there were. They're just common past passé composé expressions. Whoop. And what is it? Some verbs. Last little thing is, this is going to be, if you continue on with French, extremely important. I don't think we're going to get to it this semester, since the semester is almost over. Some verbs are conjugated not with the auxiliary avoir, but they are conjugated with être. So you have to use être with verbs like aller, sortir, tomber. But I don't think we're even going to get there, so you're not going to worry about that. All right. So I'm just going to close out things here. Oops. And remind you, gentle reminder, that you need to do some work on the super site. So when I do instructional videos for all online classes, I try to never talk more than 15 minutes because it's extremely boring to listen to somebody that long. So you have all of this re-explained to you, and then some of the exercises about demonstrative adjectives and passé composé. So go ahead and do it, and hopefully on Wednesday I will not be sitting here in the civil courthouse of New Orleans. We'll see what happens, and I will see everybody in class on Friday. And that's that for today. 34 minutes. All right. Au revoir.